Have you been trying to learn Spanish for a while, but no matter how much time and effort you put into it, you're still a long way from being fluent? If you answered yes to that, you might want to stick around for this video because I'm going to be telling you about another learning strategy that you probably never heard of that might just help you break out of that rut and reach fluency faster. I know that introduction already sounded like this is an infomercial, but it's not. I'm not selling anything, just giving you some quality information. The learning strategy I'll be talking about today is called focused fluency, and it's how I went from being a D Spanish student in high school to becoming fluent in the language in less than 2 years. I'll tell you that some of the best non-native Spanish speakers that I have ever met over the years learned Spanish in a similar way. We all had a necessity to learn for a very specific purpose, and that focused our learning on meeting that particular goal. That allowed us to become fluent very quickly in this particular area, and then it was very easy from that point to develop overall fluency. In my case, I was working as a deputy sheriff in an area with a very large Spanish-speaking population, most of whom were from Mexico. My goal at that time was to be able to conduct interviews and investigations entirely in Spanish. I was not interested in learning overall Spanish or even trying to be fluent in any other area. I had a set goal. That goal dictated how I learned the language. My vocabulary was very job specific, but my knowledge of grammar and my ability to create complex sentences in Spanish reached an advanced level very quickly, much more quickly than a traditional Spanish student. Unlike a traditional Spanish student who's learning things in a set order, we're going to cover these tenses, now we're going to cover direct object pronouns, etc. I had to learn snippets of grammar and construction for a specific purpose, to be able to say a specific thing. You know, I talk to somebody, kind of hit a wall in my Spanish, go back and be like, okay, I need to look into the preterite. I'd push through again. I might hit another wall. I can't say this without learning a little bit about the subjunctive, so I'd learn about that. My focus was never on learning certain tenses or constructions on a certain day. It was on the end product. What do I need to study right now to be able to communicate better? What do I need to study to learn how to say this? Whenever I'm explaining focused fluency to someone and I'm comparing it to, say, more traditional method of learning Spanish, I like to use a plane analogy, okay? It's like two planes that take off together. I'm over here with my focused fluency and you have traditional Spanish student over here. We're starting off pretty much the same. We're learning the same greetings, a lot of the same basic verbs, you know, ser, estar, tener, but it's going to end there. Your traditional Spanish student is going to continue, you know, to climb slowly and learn things at a certain rate, and some of the more advanced aspects of the language they're not going to learn until way down the flight. And to be honest with you, some folks may never reach that altitude. They may never learn those things. But if you're over here in the focused fluency plane, you don't have that option. You've got to be able to reach that altitude as fast as you can, right? So you are already pulling up hard on that stick. You've got to get better much faster. So the way this works is that in addition to the general vocabulary that you're learning just to make basic sentences in Spanish, you're also learning topic-specific vocabulary. And when it comes to grammar, you're learning the grammar as needed to meet the goal of being able to express a certain thought or being able to speak intelligently about that specific topic. In other words, it's giving you a set roadmap for success to reach those goals. You aren't just randomly choosing Spanish topics to learn about. Oh, that video looks interesting, let me watch that one. No. By this point in the video, you might be thinking, okay, Paul, if you can only speak fluently about one topic, that's not fluency. And I agree with that, but it doesn't stop there. The only difference between focused fluency and overall fluency is additional vocabulary. All of the same grammatical constructions are there, even the tough ones. Part of this strategy involves using the language with native speakers. So the whole time you're in this learning process, you are improving your listening comprehension, your ability to translate in your head, and your pronunciation. So once you've reached that level, adding additional vocabulary is the easy part, right? I mean, you've already done the hard work. For example, I could explain complex areas of search and seizure in Spanish before I learned how to say roller coaster or toaster. But it's just like in English if you don't know a word. You ask somebody, hey, what do you call that doohickey there? And then they tell you, and you just start popping in sentences and then talking about the doohickey, right? Pretty soon you're speaking intelligently, 100% in Spanish, about a wide range of topics. And anybody who meets you is like, that person's fluent. That's how focused fluency works. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, some of the best non-native Spanish speakers that I've ever met over the years learned Spanish in a similar way. Most started the way I did, out of necessity for work. They worked in restaurants, construction, agriculture, some industry which allowed them to achieve focused fluency first and then overall fluency after that. Now, some of you might be asking yourselves, where's Paul going with this? Is Paul saying that I should quit my job and then go find a job that forces me to learn Spanish? No, I'm not saying that. But if you can do that, I mean, that'd be awesome, but you don't have to do that. What I'm saying is that you could use a similar approach to jumpstart your Spanish learning. You know, you could focus on one particular topic and push yourself to be able to communicate effectively about that topic. So what do you think? Does it sound interesting? Why not try it for a couple of weeks or a month just to see how it goes, just to see if it helps break you out of that rut, you know, so you can be one of those planes I talked about. If you are interested in trying it, this is how I would recommend doing it. Number one, choose a topic. If you're learning Spanish for work purposes, this part's going to be easy. Focus on that, right? If not, choose a topic that interests you. It could be movies, food, travel, or perhaps something more difficult like law or medicine. For the purposes of this video, let's say we chose movies, okay? So you want to create a goal and then a time frame to reach that goal. Let's talk about our goal. What would it be? Let's say you want to be able to do a movie review in Spanish. And that doesn't sound like much as a goal, but that's going to require a lot of Spanish. When it comes to the time frame, it's really going to depend on your ability. And you want to have a sense of urgency. You want to be pushing yourself. So maybe you have a month or 2 months. It really depends where you're at now. Having a specific goal is very important because it's going to help you identify the holes in your Spanish so you can fill them, right? So how are we going to go about doing this, all right? Again, it's going to depend on your level of Spanish. Right away, you could start with easy things like, me gusta ir al cine. I like to go to the movies. And then see how much you can come up with on your own. You're probably going to hit those walls pretty quick. The next thing I would do would probably be go to YouTube and then look for movie reviews in Spanish. You know, kind of get a feel for that, hear the terminology. This is also going to help you with your listening comprehension. The next thing I would do would be to write out a short review in English to give myself an idea of what I want to be able to say in Spanish. And then I try to translate it out piece by piece using what I already know, which I'm probably going to hit those walls depending where I'm at. And if I'm having trouble with a particular phrase or sentence, that's when I'll turn to one of the translators like DeepL or Google Translate to see what it comes up with. And if I'm not understanding why it came up with that, then I need to investigate it further. What I don't want to do is drop in my whole review, let it translate the whole thing, and then try to learn this thing, like memorizing a speech. It's important that you understand the language and construction so you can use them on your own. It's not about parroting. One of the big advantages of focused fluency is that it's going to give you a roadmap to follow in what to study, what should you learn. And this is where we get to this part. Okay, you've plugged something in DeepL and you've got your translation, but you're like, I'm not sure why that bea is there. Why is it bea and not be? What we want to do is we can take our phrase there and we can go over to ChatGPT, which is the AI program that's free, and we're going to plug it in, all right? But I'm going to preface it by asking ChatGPT to break this down into its components so I can identify what I don't understand and what I need to study. So ChatGPT does its thing. I look down at bea and I see it's in the present subjunctive. So I'm like, oh, I need to learn more about the present subjunctive. So I can Google that or I can go in YouTube. By the way, I have a lot of videos about the subjunctive on this channel. Now let's talk about the importance of incorporating native Spanish speakers into the mix here, okay? Ideally, you'll be pushing yourself to have these conversations with actual native speakers. Even if you don't know any native speakers personally, that's not a problem anymore, right? It's called the internet, folks. There are plenty of resources online to connect with one, okay? Let that person know that you're not interested in the typical small talk, blah, 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 why are you learning Spanish, blah, blah, blah. No, let them know you want to talk about one particular topic and you want to get into detail about it, all right? And then when you hit those walls there and you don't know how to proceed, you can be like, how would I say this? And you can kind of push through with them. Stay focused. So what do you say? You think it's worth a try? Are you ready to set a goal today, not tomorrow in a week, today, and a time frame, and start pushing yourself every single day to improve your Spanish to meet that goal? I know some of you are like, nah, not really. I was just too lazy to go to the next video, Paul. For you folks who are going to give it a try, do me a favor, pop back into this video every now and then, and just leave me a comment to let me know how it's going. Do you like it? Is it working? different techniques you're using to help push yourself to meet that goal by that particular date. And you know what? I'd love to hear what your time frames and goals are too. I think that'd be super interesting. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, just do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.